So if your benefit is much higher than your spouse's, the long-term benefit that they might receive by you waiting to collect until 70 or trying to wait till then might outweigh the benefit they would receive by you collecting your benefit a little bit early.
Are you ready for a successful retirement? We're addressing the topics facing today's retirees. Welcome to Retire with Ryan. Now here's your host, Ryan Morrissey.
Welcome back. This week we're continuing our discussion on Social Security, and today I'm going to talk to you about 3 ways that you can receive Social Security survivor benefits. Certainly something that none of us like to think about. We certainly don't want to be a Social Security survivor because that means we've lost a spouse. But there are things to consider and ways that you can really maximize what you can receive before you make a decision on when to collect that benefit. And you're eligible to receive a Social Security survivor benefit if you are married and your spouse then dies before you. And this benefit is based off of your spouse's work history. And you could almost look at this as a form of life insurance. It's not a lump sum that you're getting. It's be a monthly amount, but it can help to replace lost income. And there is a monthly amount, I should say, that everyone's eligible for. It's almost laughable. And that's $255 lump sum that Social Security will pay you when your spouse has passed away. But the other benefits we're going to talk about are money that you will get on a monthly basis. And to be able to collect the Social Security survivor benefit, you have to have been married to your deceased spouse for at least 9 months, except in the case of accidental death. So if your spouse dies of natural causes, then you have to have been married for 9 months. But if your spouse dies by accident, then the 9 months is waived, and Social Security defines the accidental death as one that's caused by any event that the insured, that is your deceased spouse, did not expect. So the 3 ways that you can collect the Social Security survivor benefit are really based on 1, if your spouse was collecting their benefit when they passed away, 2, if they weren't yet collecting their benefit, if they died before collecting their benefit, and then 3, if you have minor children under the age of 18 when your spouse dies. So I'm going to go through those 3 scenarios, really 3 options, and how you can claim benefits. So the first being if your spouse dies after they claim or begin collecting their Social Security benefit. So if they have either reached their full retirement, which is between 66 and 67 for everyone that isn't already collecting their benefit, and they already had started collecting it, then your benefit is going to be based on the amount of the benefit they're receiving when they passed away. So if they are receiving, let's say, $2,500 a month and they pass away at age 66, then your survivor benefit will be based off that amount. So the longer your spouse waits to collect their benefit, the higher survivor benefit they can leave to you. And if you've listened to some of my previous podcast episodes, specifically on Social Security, episode 4, episode 38, and also the previous 2 episodes, episode 41 and 42, you will know that you receive an 8% additional Social Security credit by delaying your benefit between your full retirement age and age 70. So let's just say your full retirement age is 67. So for those 3 years, you earn an 8% additional credit for each year. So that's 24%. This not only benefits you, but if you're the higher earning spouse, if your work history is longer, if you've earned more over your career and you have the higher benefit, then not only could this impact you, but it can also impact the survivor benefit you leave behind to your spouse. Because as a spousal Social Security survivor, you have the option to collect the higher of the 2 benefits, your own benefit or the survivor benefit. So one thing you might want to think about if you're the higher earning spouse is waiting until 70 to collect your benefit, because that will not only give you the highest benefit, but also your spouse the highest survivor benefit if they outlive you. And if you don't make it all the way to 70, if you happen to pass away at 68 or 69, you might be thinking, well, your spouse would have wished that you started collecting at maybe your full retirement of 66 because you could have received benefits for 2 or 3 years. And that is true. You're going to lose that money, but you're also leaving behind a higher survivor benefit. So if your benefit is much higher than your spouse's, the long-term benefit that they might receive by you waiting to collect until 70 or trying to wait till then might outweigh the benefit they would receive by you collecting your benefit a little bit early. So you really have to look at the numbers to see what's going to make the most sense. And a lot of higher earning spouses either don't know about this or they don't really think about this, and they just collect as either at full retirement without giving this much thought. And that could really negatively impact your spouse in the long run as far as the income they could receive over their lifetime. So let's just look at an example here of Jim and Jane. If Jim's full retirement benefit is 67, which he could collect now, and that would be $3,000 a month, or if he waited 3 years until 70, he'd receive that 24% increase over those 3 years, 8% a year, which works out to $3,720. So that additional $720 a month is the amount he could get by delaying his benefits. But that's not including any cost of living adjustments. The cost of living adjustments have averaged about 2.8%. So that would increase that money higher. But what if Jack claimed his benefit as soon as he could? Let's just assume that Jack, instead of being 67, is 62, but these numbers are still the same. He'd still be eligible for $3,000 at full retirement, or if he waited till 70, $3,720. But if he collected at 62, he could receive $2,100 a month. Well, that's a really large difference, $2,100 to $3,700 that he could be leaving behind to his spouse. That's $1,600 a month could go a long way. So this is a reason why you might want to not just collect your benefit as soon as you can if you're the higher earning spouse. And obviously, one of the strategies, which I mentioned, is to have the higher earning spouse wait until 70. Now, Social Security requires you to notify them anytime a spouse passes away. And you could not do that, and you'd keep receiving this benefit, and then Social Security would probably end up reporting you, and maybe you get free room and board out of this, also known as jail time. So you want to make sure that you don't do that. You notify Social Security if your spouse has passed away. Even if it's going to negatively impact you, it's probably going to be much better than possibly facing jail time. So if your spouse passes away between their full retirement age and 70, and their benefit is more than yours, then chances are you're going to collect the spousal benefit shortly after their passing. That monthly amount is what you're going to be eligible to receive because most likely that benefit is higher than your own benefit. So if you were already collecting your own benefit, you would lose your own benefit. That would stop coming in, but you would now take over the higher spousal benefit. And if your spouse happened to collect their benefit early, if they collected at 62, then even though normally you'd be eligible for the amount equal to what they started collecting, if that is less than 82.5% of their full retirement benefit, then you'll get at least 82.5% of that full retirement benefit. So our second option for collecting survivor benefits is that if your spouse passes away before they're eligible to collect their benefit, they pass away before 62, maybe even in their 50s, and you haven't collected your benefit either, then you have the ability to collect your survivor benefit as early as age 60. But keep in mind, the benefit will be reduced. And that benefit is going to be equal to whatever your spouse's full retirement benefit was. So the amount that they're eligible for at full retirement, it's also known as the primary insurance amount. And if your spouse hadn't then collected the benefit because they weren't yet eligible, then you're eligible to receive up to 100% of that benefit if you wait until your full retirement age, or you could collect that benefit as early as 60 and you receive 71% of your spouse's full retirement benefit. Now, you don't need to collect this immediately. You can wait. And if you qualify for Social Security disability, then you can collect this benefit as early as age 50. Your decision to collect this really depends upon if you're working at the time. If you have other earned income, then you're limited to how much money that you can earn and receive the benefit. And I'll cover that in a little bit. But that's one of the biggest decisions to think about is whether you're going to be working and have earned income. Let's just go back to our prior example of Jim and Jane. If Jim had died at 59, and let's just assume that Jim and Jane are the same age, then she could collect 71.5% of his full retirement benefit, which we had assumed to be $3,000 at age 60, which would be $2,145 a month. But this is a permanent amount, so this benefit doesn't go up. So just like collecting on your own Social Security benefit, every month that you delay your benefit, the higher the benefit goes until you reach your full retirement. But there is no 8% credit that's earned on the survivor benefit. You could still continue to collect that on your own benefit, but you don't earn that. So it doesn't make sense to wait past your full retirement if you're just going to collect the survivor benefit. But let's just say that Jane had her own benefit and that was equal to $2,200 a month at full retirement. Then she could collect her survivor benefit at age 60 and let her own benefit defer. And if that then earned that 8% credit for 3 years between 67 and 70, that would grow to 2728, assuming no cost of living adjustments. So most likely it would be higher. And then when she reached 70, she could switch over to her own benefit. So that is where, some planning comes into this if you have the ability to collect not only a survivor benefit, but off of your own benefit. And then the third way that you're eligible for survivor benefits is that if you have minor children who are under the age of 18, then they are eligible for 75% of your spouse's full retirement benefit or primary insurance amount. And you, as the surviving spouse, would then also be eligible for 75% of your spouse's full retirement benefit until your youngest child reaches the age of 16. So if you happen to lose your spouse at a young age and you're not close to reaching age 60 and you have minor children, then they could receive benefits until they're 18, and then you could also collect that 75% of the full retirement benefit until they reach 16. And this would stop if you got remarried. However, your child's benefit would continue even if you remarry until they are 18. But these benefits are between what your child or children could receive if you have more than one child and what you could receive are all subject to a family maximum, which is listed on your spouse's Social Security statement, or if you reach out to Social Security, they can tell you what this is. But let's just say I ran some numbers. For example, your spouse's full retirement benefit was $23.22 a month, then the family limit would be $40.64. So if you had 3 children under the age of 18, even though they'd be eligible for 75% of that $23.22, they wouldn't actually all receive that because your family limit would be capped out at that $40.64 a month. So the next thing to think about, and I mentioned it earlier, is whether or not you remarry and how this could impact your benefits. If you remarry before 60, then you essentially nullify or cancel any survivor benefits that you would be eligible for. And now you're only eligible for a spousal benefit from your new spouse. So you would lose that. However, if the marriage ends, then you now are re-eligible for the survivor benefits that you were receiving. But if you remarry after 60, then you retain your right to the survivor benefits. So you don't lose those. And then you have the choice to either keep their survivor benefits or switch over to the spousal benefit. So if you haven't listened to my episode on spousal benefits, I suggest you do that. But with the spousal benefit, you're only eligible for 50% of your spouse's full retirement benefit. And with their survivor benefit, as we've been discussing, it's 100%. So most likely their survivor benefit would be better for you, so you'd want to keep that. And if you qualify for Social Security disability survivor benefits that you can collect as early as age 50, and you remarry after 50, then I believe you keep those survivor benefits as well. So you really have to think twice about remarrying for the financial reason of if you're collecting a Social Security survivor benefit, then you might lose that benefit if you remarry before 60. And if then you remarry after 60 and your second husband also passes away before you, then you now have the choice to switch over to the higher of either your first spouse's survivor benefit or your second spouse's survivor benefit. And I mentioned earlier about the decision to collect at 60 or wait is really going to be based on whether or not you're working and how much you're making. And that's where you have to think about the Social Security earnings limit. And if you remember from previous Social Security episodes, there's an annual limit to how much earned income you can receive and collect Social Security benefit, either your own, a survivor benefit, before your full retirement age. And that earnings limit before the year you reach full retirement is $18,960 for 2021. And that number goes up slightly each year for inflation, but it's not going up at a very large amount. So for every dollar that you earn, or every $2 you earn over that limit, $1 of your benefits are withheld. So if your benefit was $1,500 a month, then you'd only have to earn about $45,000 and you lose all your benefits. So you have to do that calculation to figure out, is it worth collecting these benefits? Because as you remember, the longer you wait for survivor benefits, the higher the benefit grows. But in the year that you reach full retirement, you can earn up to $50,520 for 2021, and then your benefits only reduce $1 for every $3 that you earn over that amount. So you can earn a significant amount more and collect your benefit, and then the year you reach full retirement, there's no limit at all. And keep in mind that earned income, whether you work for someone else or you're self-employed, is what's counted. If you receive dividends, interest, pensions, life insurance proceeds, these don't count as earned income. So it's really, you're getting a W-2 or you're self-employed and you get 1099s or you file a Schedule C return. So your action items would be that if you haven't set up an account with Social Security, you should definitely do that. I always recommend everyone do that. Go to ssa.gov. In the upper right-hand corner, you click on sign in, sign up, and then you'd click on My Social Security, and then you'd click create an account, and you follow the prompts and you set up the account. It sometimes is easy if you have all your information. Sometimes it's not. You might have to call Social Security to unlock your account, and your spouse should definitely do this too. That way you both have your numbers, and once you're logged in there, you can see your numbers, but I usually find it's a good idea to download your statement to save that. You have it for reference later on. If you're working with a financial planner like myself, you can provide that to them, and it'll be very helpful for them to help you figure out what to do with all this. And if you had your spouse recently pass away and you didn't download their statement and you can't log into their account, then you should reach out to Social Security at 1-800-772-1213 to find out what your spousal benefit might be so that you can make decisions about when to collect. If your spouse was already collecting their benefits and you have access to their bank account, or it's a joint bank account, then you could find out how much they're receiving, and then you can go about your decisions from there. So I hope this episode was helpful for you to understand the 3 ways that you can collect your survivor Social Security benefits. And if you haven't subscribed to this podcast, please pull out your iPhone and go to Apple Podcasts, search Retire with Ryan, and subscribe to the podcast. Hope that you have a great week, and I look forward to talking to you next Wednesday. Take care.
You should consult a financial advisor familiar with your specific circumstances before you make any financial decisions. Nothing in this broadcast constitutes a solicitation for the sale or purchase of any securities. Any mention of rates of return are historical or hypothetical in nature and are not a guarantee of future returns. Ryan Morrissey, CFP, is an investment advisor representative of Morrissey Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor.